the piano here, and that means good music is coming right there into your living room.
That's right. We have a familiar lady around town with us today. She's a wonderful singer and piano player. Her name is Frankie Staton.
Welcome, Frankie. It's good to have you here with us today.
It certainly is.
Here she is, singing Just As I Am, Frankie Staton.
Frankie Staton with Big-Legged Woman. Frankie!
She is a wonderful lady, and she's about to come out and perform a song for you all. Let me just tell you a little bit about Frankie. I know everyone knows Frankie, but for the benefit of those who don't, this young lady has twice the winner of the female vocalist in this very contest. Last year was the winner of the Winner Showcase. She was a winner. She's a winner on everything on this list. Winner of the United Way Talent Kickoff at the Grand Ole Opry. She's appeared on Nashville Now. She's been on TNN's Be a Star. She's been on Bobby Jones Gospel Hour, Nashville Gospel. She's appeared at the Apollo. Ladies and gentlemen, she is a wonderful lady, and I clown around with her a lot, but what a trooper this young lady is. She's going to sing a song for you she wrote called Just the Way I Am. Please welcome Frankie Staton.
All right, I hear you now.
All righty, perfect. How are you doing?
Good morning, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had to speak to you. I went to the, I'm sorry, I got these AirPods in. I went to the Juneteenth panel that you were at Soho House a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you just inspired me so much because your story of having to overcome so much and having to get through just the Nashville circuit alone seemed to be like an uphill battle.
It was awful.
So the reason why I wanted to speak with you is because I kind of feel like I'm facing that same uphill battle with trying to get other genres popularized here in Nashville.
I believe it's all coming here. I believe it's just a matter of time. You know who said that to me? It was Paul Overstreet, one of the biggest songwriters in country music. He wrote for Randy Travis, Forever and Ever, Amen. He wrote When You Say Nothing at All, which is went all over the world in the movie Notting Hill. Not only did Randy Travis record it, but Ronan Keating, who is a major European singer, just took it all the way around the world. And he said to me, it's all coming here, So I think it's coming. I really do. Yeah.
I feel like Nashville has a past that it doesn't want to acknowledge.
They probably don't. They probably don't.
I think that's going to be a huge barrier for the city to overcome in order to flourish the way they think it should.
Yeah. I think the one plus that Nashville has is that there are some women in power now. And those women were marginalized as well as white women. They were treated like garbage. And so they understand what we're going through because they've been there. They used to be called girl singers, like, okay, get up and sing your song and sit down. I was at a girl that had just had a #1 song that was nominated for Song of the Year. She was doing a showcase, trying to get a record deal on her own. And I was one of her people that was trying to sing backup for her and help her out. And I'll never forget this, that the musicians wouldn't shut up talking. And she kept saying, I'm ready to start. I'm ready. Yeah, are you ready? I was like, I would have been like, shut up and let's practice. They just ignored her. They're talking about, the neck on this guitar. And I'm like, you know what? And when I was faced with that, you wouldn't believe how I went off. I just went off and stood my ground. I didn't care if I was the only girl in the room. If I'm paying you, you're going to come and practice. And if you don't practice, you ain't getting paid for a practice that you didn't practice. And I was faced with all of that. And I'm going to tell you what, I refused to pay them. I said the gig paid $350 per rehearsal, $200 for the gig. You missed a rehearsal, so you will be getting $250. And I mean, and they would argue with me. I said, no, you're not getting it. I just went through all of that. I played a gig one night. It was actually for the grand opening of the Delta at Opryland Hotel. And I remember they changed the hours because they were having problems with the pyrotechnics and everything. And I remember the band said to me, well, my contract says 7 to midnight. If I'm playing 8 to 1, they better give me extra money. I said, don't worry about it. I got that last hour. And last hour, I turned it into a piano bar, put me a tip job and made me some money. But I wouldn't pay them till 1 o'clock.
Right.
I'm just not going to let people run over me like that. Not only was there a lot of racism in this city, there was misogyny big time in this city among my own people. I can't tell you how many Black people I went to, and they probably thought, well, what that little old woman there gonna do? I went to a hip hop show. And I was in there. I had just had surgery. I had stitches in my stomach, but I went to this hip hop show at the East Room. And I had this idea for this song. And I don't really write hip hop, but you don't know what you're going to write, right? So I needed me a little young rapper to come in there and help me with my beats and everything and do his little rap. And they were just looking at me like, I said, I will hire you, whatever you charge me, I'll pay. And I've always been that type person. I never wanted nobody to do nothing for me free, because the Bible says servant is worthy of his hire. I wanted people to understand that their time was valuable to me as well, you know. And everybody ignored me. I gave my card to so many people. And I was looking at their merch table. And I said, they ain't selling nothing. And it was people there from all over the country. I said, so how you making money? And so the local people I was trying to get in the studio with, nobody would go in the studio with me. I said, you know what, when this show is over with, I'm gonna ride up the street, because I got a feeling that all these musicians gonna be in the 24-hour McDonald's. There they were. So I didn't understand that. I hired a guy to produce a song of mine I wanted to pitch to Whitney Houston. I said, I just really want you to give it the right feel. And the guy cussed me out.
No.
Used all kind of word. You better give me my blank money. If you don't give me my money, it's me and you. I mean, I didn't know this man, but I heard he was really good, right? And I said, why would I come to you if I didn't plan on paying you?
Right.
And when I went back to his house and got the tracks, I said, here's your money. I saw him many years later. He was setting up a sound system for something I was performing at. And I said, didn't you live on this street and didn't you produce some tracks for me and cuss me out? And he started laughing. I said, you know, that's really not funny, man. This is a business. I treat it like a business. Why did you talk to me like that? You didn't even know me. I mean, I went clear to Kauai, to the Kauai Music Festival, and played my music. Music supervisors from Burbank and Hollywood went crazy over my songs and said, go back and do us a demo, just piano and vocals. Okay, I knew this had to be the best it could be. I'm not really a studio musician, I'm a live act. And so I was calling around town trying to get a really killer jazz pianist to play for me. You know, I went to over 20 different piano players. And finally, I called the guy that scores Tyler Perry's films. And he said, well, this guy owes me a favor, call him. And the guy said, the only reason I'm doing this is because of my friend. And I go out to his house and he's looking at me like, oh, really, what are you gonna do? And I said, here's the song that I want to record. They're waiting on it in Burbank to pitch for film. And he said, oh, okay. And he listened to it and he said, you wrote that? I'm like, yes. He said, all by yourself? I said, lyric and melody. He's like, that's really good. I'm like,
I'm sure that's frustrating, having to have somebody kind of like underestimate you like that.
That's what I went through for 35, 36, 38 years.
So
Even to
I was
the
reading
point
about
of publishers saying, when I played my music for them, oh, you didn't write that. You couldn't write a song like that.
it. So I've done my research on you, Miss Staton. And from what I read, from 1977 to 1981, you performed at the High Point Market, correct?
Well, that's just a seasonal thing. That was just a blessing from God. I was a dishwasher. I was a dishwasher all night during the market because everybody works the market. It's there for 2 weeks and the whole town works the market to make it happen. So I figured out, well, I just go there and wash dishes all night. I already had 3 other jobs, and I was trying to buy a piano like Stevie Wonder had, a Fender Rose. I'm gonna be like, Stevie, man, I'm giving me a Fender Rose, I was making $1.90 an hour, $1.90 washing dishes. And my boss, who came from Krispy Kreme Donuts, where he worked as a supervisor, about 2 o'clock in the morning, said, I'm gonna go get you dishwashers some fresh donuts and we'll sit down and have a cup of coffee. I said, I saw a grand piano. I'll play it. He said, you'll do what? I said, I'll play the grand piano. He said, you wish you could play. I said, no, you wish you could play like me. And sure enough, I sit down and start playing the piano. I was playing The Sound of Music. And from nowhere came a little man in a business suit. And I said, uh-oh, I'm fired. He said, you're hired. I have the largest showroom in the market, Krell Manufacturing out of Naperville, Illinois. We got the top 2 floors. We have no entertainment. Would you play for me? I'll pay you $50 a night to play for 2 hours. I said, He said, I need you all 14 nights. I said, Do you have an evening gown? The girl beside me said, tell him no so he can buy you some clothes. You don't do people. I got an evening gown. Girl, what are you talking about? I play when I ain't doing this. So here I come back the next day. I mean, I didn't know what I was in for. And he's just showing me around, introducing me to everybody. And he said, here's the grand piano. We've had it tuned. And all of the bartenders and cocktail waitresses came from High Point College, which is High Point University now. It's really exploding down there. And they were kind of looking at me like, are you a music teacher? I said, I don't even read music, but I could play their request, So this is when I said, okay, well, this is a whole new ball game for me. When the vice president of the company comes up to me, this is when you know your country. He said, I heard all about you, you dishwasher. I just fell out laughing. I said, well, it's true. I am. Yeah, I was washing dishes. And so he said, I'm so glad you're here. We appreciate you. We needed some entertainment. And lays $100 on the piano. So I said, and he walked off, and I said, sir, you left your money. He said, let me get you a tip jar. You'll get a lot of those this week. I said, shut up. I'll get a lot of those. He said, yeah. Dude, look, even the bartenders was looking at me like, wow. I walked in the music store, and they treated you like garbage. I walked in the music store and they said, what do you want, a chord or something? I said, well, I was going to buy a Fender Rhodes stage model, 73 note, but now I said, but now I was going to buy a 73 note, but now I want the stage model, the full 88 Fender Rhodes. They said, yeah. And just how do you think you could pay for something like that? Dude, I pulled out a roll of hundreds on them. I said, they said, yes, ma'am. I said, thank you very much. You understand what I'm saying? So they would call me before they came to town and say, come back and play. So then I ended up in the newspapers going from a dishwasher to playing the grand piano. And then I ended up on the radio and they would hear my music. And this was people from all over the world, people who design furniture. I grew up 5 miles from Thomasville. That's some of the best furniture you can get your hands on right there. So my hometown, that was the industry of our city. So they had like the cabinet making shops. I worked years ago in a place where we made television cabinets for Sylvania, baking lacquer on TV cabinets and things. We had a place called the Blacksmith Shop. But my hometown was where all the people came from all over the world to buy the furniture and pick out the colors and swatches that you see in the stores today. It's huge.
Wow.
It's 70, 80,000 people 4 times. We didn't even have the, we couldn't host it. People stayed as far away as Asheville because there was no hotels. We had like 2 or 3 little hotels. And what kept it was, they said, we got to go somewhere where they have liquor by the drink. We didn't have any drinks. You had to go across the county line, buy a bottle of liquor. And I had a friend, his name is Sat. You talking about funny. He would start buying liquor like 2 months before they got there, right? He had a bar in the back of his trunk. And when it turned out, he'd go, can I interest you in something, sir? And they go like, yeah. It was a hustle for a lot of people. But what saved it was when they realized we getting ready to lose this market. Then the churches came out and cooked and sent the church bus to pick the furniture man up. Sir, we're the Quaker church. We're giving you lunch today. Would you like to have? Come on over. We'll bring you back. And they're like, yes, ma'am, we want some of it. And you see these furniture men getting off the bus with a brown paper bag. I said, they probably gonna send them back with some pound cake and sweet potato pie. My brothers and sisters came out and threw down and cooked. They're like, oh, we like it down here. And people started moving out of their houses, letting them live in their house for the market. They did everything they could because they were competing against Las Vegas. And so they started to build other hotels there and come up with new restaurants and things. But if you want to see something amazing, I'm gonna shut up talking about furniture. But look up Southland Furniture on Interstate 85. It is the largest
Southland Furniture.
Yeah, it's the largest furniture store in the world. And you go into the door, they call it a campus because it's high-rise buildings of furniture. You can't even see all of it because it'll just wear you out so much. You walk through a gigantic dresser higher than a telephone pole.
What?
Get into the building. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I would play like somebody said, well, I want to hear Frank Sinatra, I want to hear Nat Cole, Louis Armstrong. And then I'd play one of my own songs. They said, whose song is that? I said, that's mine. They're like, if you really wrote that music, you need to go where somebody can hear you because that's as good as anything on the radio. I
Is
thought
that what prompted you to move to Nashville?
that's what got me to move to Nashville. And I thought, man, New York, me in New York, as country as I am, but I was writing everything. And I was exposed to all types of music and influenced by everything. But I was really in awe of these people, these country pickers that blasted the mandolins and dobros and fiddles, playing bluegrass and banjos and stuff. And I used to watch Hee Haw. I watched Dolly Parton's show. I watched Pop Goes the Country, that Nashville music. I listened to all these songs and I was aware of the great songs. I was crazy about Glenn Campbell. I just thought Glenn Campbell, the Rhinestone Cowboy, hung the moon. I thought Glenn Campbell was a bomb. That man can really sing and play a guitar. I mean, he could really. And there's a video of him singing with Stevie Wonder, and old Glenn hung in there. And you don't anybody that can't sing with Stevie. You know that?
Yeah.
And I actually went to the City Winery to meet Jimmy Webb. I went to his concert. Jimmy Webb wrote a lot of those Glenn Campbell hits. I think Jimmy thought I was nuts. I was like, because I loved his music. I mean, I'm a true music. I can't even tell you what to call it, but I love music. And I think I hear music differently. I think I hear music differently than other people. People listen to a song, but I'm listening to everything in it, from the bass to the string lines, to the horn lines, to everything that's played. Every riff, I mean, it just goes like, it goes through my body. So whenever I met Jimmy Webb, I was like, oh, Mr. Webb, I love your music. Oh, the Wichita Lineman. Oh, I was crazy about Glenn. This way he was looking at me. What is your name? I said, I don't want to talk about my name. I want to talk about your music. He said, so I can sign the last CD. I said, oh,
Mm.
my name is Frankie. And so whenever I turn around, you know, he said, what do you do? I said, okay, wait. Don't talk to me like that. I like your music and I have always respected you, but don't talk to me like that, like I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I said, I just love your songs. I said, I do the same thing that you do on a tiny, tiny level. I play the grand piano as well. And I'm a singer-songwriter. And they're trying to get my songs in film in Hollywood. He said, oh, well, thank you very much. And what is your name? I said, Frankie Staton. So the next day, he put on Facebook, I met the gregarious Frankie Staton
No
in
way.
Nashville, and she has stood up and fought for diversity in country music. I told his wife she was working the ropes to keeping people off of him. And I said, when I walked up, I said, you tell your husband he didn't write them songs by himself. Jesus helped him. I turned around. His wife was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So when you first got to Nashville, again, I read your bio. You worked on the Ralph Emerson show?
Ralph Emery.
Morning show? Emery, sorry.
Yeah.
How long did you do that?
10 years.
Okay, so was that as soon as you got to Nashville?
No, I was here probably 2 years before I met Ralph. I met him, I was playing for the Marriott, Airport Marriott Hotel. And he was standing there. I said, now that's that man I see on television every morning. And I looked at him and I said, now how am I going to be different from everybody else? And so I said, sir, here's my card. You need me to light your screen up in the morning. He said, oh, really? He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to come down there and wake everybody up and entertain everybody. He said, well, come down there in the morning. It was midnight. I had to be there at 30 in the morning. I said, okay, I'll be there. Sure enough, I showed up and I heard him telling the band, you see that black lady over there? I want you to get up and sing. I said, okay, what black got to do with it?
I know that's right.
And the band got me up to sing. And I just, the hottest song at that time was Country When Country Wasn't Cool. And I said, I'm doing Country When Country Wasn't Cool. No rehearsal, live TV. And it turns out, that's a Barbara Mandrell song. It turns out that she was his best friend.
Wow.
She was watching. And so I said, okay, it's a part in there at the end where George Jones sings. And I was just acting a fool with him. He was over there reading the paper. I said, Ralph, just right in the middle of it, I said, Ralph, guess what? He said, what? I said, I went by George Jones' house. He wouldn't get out the bed and come down there and sing his part. So I'll do it. I was country. Everybody just felt like this woman is nuts, you know. I went back over there and sit down, and Laurie Morgan was sitting there, and he come over there and he said, you come back next week. I said, really? He said, you come back next week. And Laurie chewing gum. He likes you. If he tells you to come back, he likes you. So I went back. And someone said, Frankie, play the grand piano. And so I said, I'm going to play the piano this morning. And he said, well, we have a piano player. I said, well, he ain't the only piano player in the world. A whole lot of people play piano. So I played Chariots of Fire, and he went nuts over it. He came back and said, come back next week. Like, know he like you. I told you. So that third week I was there, he said, you come back till I tell you not to come back no more. And I was on there till the show went off the air.
Wow. So that's 83 when you started, right?
Right.
At the show.
Right.
So my parents got to TSU. Neither of them are from Nashville, but they both got to TSU in 1983.
Okay.
So the history of what I know of country music is scarce. So of Black country music is even smaller. You know, they taught me about Charlie Pride and obviously like Darius Rucker, but I know that you want to represent that gap, and you want to make sure that you let the masses know who that gap was and what they did for country music.
I owe it to them. I owe it to the people that came to this town and got on my showcases, spent their money on plane tickets and hotel rooms, that had a dream that were just turned away, just like I was on Music Row. And then actually that's, you know, I don't know if you read the story from the New York News and Record. Did you read that story?
Where they said that Black people don't want to listen to country music?
And Black people can't sing it. They've tried to find Black country singers and everything. And that's what made me challenge the industry, because when they were saying Black people couldn't sing it or whatever, I was running all over Music Row trying to get my music heard. And they wouldn't listen to my music. They didn't want, I was taken to publishing companies, taken by their own writers. You know, I would just, because I didn't know what else to do. I would just ask people, you know, there was a guy down at the TV station one morning, and I said, one of the guys in the band said, you always talk about your songs. That guy is a big time songwriter. He writes for Sony. You know, Sony Tree, largest publisher of country music in the world, 50 staff writers. That's where, I mean, some of the biggest songs you'll ever hear, Where He Stopped Loving Her Today, Why Not Me, For the Judge, Harlan Howard, Bobby Braddock. I mean, big songwriters, you know, Jamie O'Hara, Grandpa Tell Me About the Good Old Days. So I'm like, I'm going to ask him. And I said, sir, would you listen to my music? I'm a songwriter. He said, if it ain't no good, I'm going to tell you. I said, well, you can tell me. I'm used to it, you know. So when the show went off the air, he just sat on the piano bench beside me and said, all right, play. So I played him a song, country song. He said, you wrote that? I said, yes. He said, by yourself? I said, yes, I hear music. And he said, that's really good. He said, play me another song. I played another song. He said, okay, and that's you. I said, everything I play you is just me, won't nobody write with me. And he said, okay, hit me one more time. I played him the third time. He said, let's go to breakfast. Oh, why you want to go to breakfast? So we go to breakfast, and he kept looking at his watch. He said, let's go, follow me. This man walked into the largest publisher of country music in the world. And he said, we're going to lay them songs down. I'm going to go to bat for you. You need to be writing over here. They need to hear your music. He said, you just as talented as anybody in this building. We laid the songs down. He went in. I could tell when the man came out the door, it wasn't going to happen. But this is what I noticed. See, when you're shut out of something, you don't really understand the process. When I was sitting in this outer room, it was a blackboard up on the wall. And it said, I knew these songs were coming out of Nashville, but I didn't know how. We are looking for music for Dionne Warwick, Whitney Houston, Gladys Knight, Kenny Rogers, Lionel Richie. So this is where all kinds of songs came from. You see what I'm saying? I had music for everybody on the wall. And so I was sitting there going, I'm getting ready to be rich. Look at all them people. I got music for he hadn't even heard my pop and R&B and film score and jazz. He ain't heard none of that music, my gospel. So he came out, he said, let's go. He was just broke when he came out. He said, look, as far as I'm concerned, you're already a star. He said, they won't sign you, but girl, I went to bat for you. And I know that man was telling the truth. Years later, in fact, maybe 4 years ago, I was down in Muscle Shoals with some of my friends from the UK. And we went to the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. And they have all these gold records. There's a big thing about Nat Cole down there and the Commodores. And, you know, it's just very, very nice, like our Country Music Hall of Fame. And I walked up to the first gold record and I just started crying. And my friends went, I can't believe it. What is wrong with you, love? What is your problem? And I put my hand on that glass. And I just had to go sit down. I mean, I was just really crying. And I said, that's the man that fought for me. He had gold records all over. He wrote The Fireman for George Strait. He wrote the Jamestown Ferry for Tanya Tucker. You know, he just was just a really nice man. Years later, they did a documentary called Waiting in the Wings. And I tried, you know, to bring him, I tried to say to them, there were always people here that fought for us, but maybe they were not the people that could make the final decision. They wasn't the gatekeeper. What I'm saying, they believed in what I was doing, but if the gatekeeper says no, what can they do?
Right.
And she wouldn't even interview him. They wouldn't even interview him. They didn't want, see, and so that's when I started learning about how when people do stories, they put their own swing on it. But if the truth be told, that man fought for me. And that wasn't the only publishing company that I was taken to. I was taken to Major Bob, which is Garth Brooks' manager's publishing company. And I was in the room playing the piano. People just started coming out of the room. Like, you're gonna be working, you're gonna be writing here. I was like, I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get that because I was up against a girl. They had a piece of her publishing, a quarter of publishing on the song. But I always tried, you know. I think you should give credit to people that stood up for you, you know. And I've always said it's two things you never forget: people that treat you like garbage and people that's very kind to you. And I'll never forget either one of them. You know, I will always credit that man for having the guts to do that, you know, on my behalf. But I just started to say it's something really wrong with this city. It's something wrong here. And the men were treated worse than me. You should have heard what they were saying to the brothers in this town, man. Shh. You know, so, and it was people that had managers that were white and they were trying to help them and they were bumping into it too. You know, it was just awful. And so what I wanted was a spirit of community among those of us that were shut out. I wanted them to know that they were worthy and that they had the right to get on the stage and sing country music too. And I was going to do it in an industry place, in a place that I knew the music industry would support, which was the Bluebird Cafe. You know, I had sung there many times. I sung at the Bluebird on my first audition. I made it, you know, and so I had sung there many times. And Amy Curlin was very kind to me. And I said, Amy, I want to use the Bluebird. I want to have a first in history Black country music showcase. And she said, it's yours. She said, everybody else sing here. Why don't y'all? And, you know, I'm loving that. You would not believe the thing that I want to talk about more than anything, my generation versus this new generation, is not only do you have to deal with what Music Row did to you, you have to deal with what your own people did to you. And that's something we need to discuss more openly, how we treat each other as a result of the racism in this country and the crumbs. And we operated under the belief that, well, ain't gonna be but one, so it's gonna be me. Ain't gonna be but one staff writer, one Black, so it's gonna be me. And they had nothing to do with you. They didn't even want to be around you, wouldn't eat a meal with you, wouldn't talk to you. I never wrote with any of them. I mean, nothing. I mean, just, it's the weirdest thing. I remember a girl, I was actually going to have my son. So I said, I got to take a little hiatus from music. And I had waited on this man that was the head of a record label. And he said, look, I know you stand up for Blacks in country music. He said, we're looking for a Black person, Black woman. I told this girl, she went over there and got a developmental deal. I saw her a year later. I'm on this label. I said, I'm the one who told you to go over there. She said, no, you didn't. I don't remember that. I don't remember you telling me anything like that.
Wow.
And I said, what kind of person? What is that? Because I ain't got no problem giving you credit if you've done something to help my life, you know. But that's the mindset of the people. I don't understand that.
That's odd, because not only in country music do you see that in the city, you see that in every art form, period. Like with, I'll go with rap specifically just because I know more of that lane in Nashville. It's so clicked up. People don't want to help each other out. They don't want to lend a helping hand. We're all on the same level. We're all on the same playing field. Kind of what you said just now. some people want to be the only Black person in the room. My opinion is it only takes one Black person to get every Black person in that room. So, you know.
If I help you, or if I do something and it somehow ricochets back to you, it doesn't take anything away from me. You know what I'm saying? But we act out of insecurity and fear and scarcity, because that's what we have been fed in this nation. And my whole attempt in getting everybody on one stage was to say, look, I was like a school teacher. I'm like, if you don't clap for these people that's up here singing before you, you ain't getting up there yourself. I was just that crazy, man. And in the interim, it was people walking around in my show ready to kill me because they couldn't get in the show. So what happened was I had a lot of people who were true R&B singers wanting to be on a show. And I'm like, this is a country show. And they said, yeah, but I sing country. And I'm like, I'm not looking for a person that can sing a country song. I'm looking for a country singer. And there's a real difference. And I'm telling you, I had some people literally like rednecks on my show, Black rednecks. When they talk, it's like, baby child over there, build that mar. I went out in North Carolina, got them brothers grew up around race cars and rodeos. They wear ball caps every day. They wear jeans every day. You know, they wear plaid shirts every day, cowboy boots 365. I know those people existed. I brought this sister on there from Ashland City. She said, how you doing today? My name's Valerie. I'm happy to be here. They didn't believe, even the New York Times didn't believe they were real country singers. So they called me and said, where are you rehearsing at? And I said, they don't believe it. I said, a woodshed. They showed up 3 days before the show. I said, y'all come here. I just looked at him. I said, this is New York Times music critic. He said, how you know? I said, because you don't look like all us down here. Got that long plait down your back, you know. And so they went up to me, oh, sir, thank you so much for telling our story to the world. We appreciate it. It was like this. I said, that's pure. As pure as it can get. Dude, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming down. Even the band wasn't used to it. The band was sitting there like, golly, look at that. And the thing that I was the proudest of, I wanted them to know what it felt like to be a star. When we pulled up to the Bluebird, you couldn't even get in the place. I mean, it was, nobody ever seen nothing like it before, you know, and it was during Black History Month. We had a girl get up and tell the African-American contribution to country music from Africa all the way to today. She get up and speak a couple of minutes between each act, right? And so I just got up and I ran a copy of the story and put it in every chair. I said, I'm here because of this story right here. And that called out Tony Brown and Tim Dubois and Jim Ed Norman, just called out the head of 3 major record companies. And I said, if you don't think we exist, come to the Bluebird. And I had to fight. If you know, I was so exhausted by the time we did the first show because I wanted the music to be good. Like, you know, if a guy was a second tenor, then I went on Music Row and looked for the songs that didn't make Vince Gill's album. They could write music, some of them, but they wasn't writing on the level of these people that sit in these writing rooms and write all day long, every day, then tear the song apart and put it back together to make it stronger. They weren't around them kind of writers. And so people would tell me, I'm not coming all the way to Nashville to sing 2 songs, much less something I didn't write. I said, it's okay, somebody ready to take your place right now. And so they ended up doing it. And then I had the whole battle of the bands. Everybody, the band need to be Black. I said, well, I don't remember Black country players that ain't on the road with the biggest stars in country music. And they're not going to leave that to come and do my show. And I knew I needed people who could write charts, read charts, play in any key, and were multi-instrumentalists. I had a guy playing bass that played stand-up, fretless, electric, and then could bow the stand-up like a violin. That's the type of players you need, you know? And so when it all came together and we started rehearsing, the people were just standing there like, boy, they can play. I'm like, that's what you got to do. Yeah. And I just went up and down Bell Mead, places I played in those houses, and said, I need you to sponsor one of my musicians for my show. And then I asked the musicians, how is it done with the big stars? And they explained, you know. So then I would have food in every rehearsal, and they go like, what do you do? I said, I'm a waitress. And I just, if you just knew the battles, if you knew the things that I went through, you would not believe the things that I went through. I give you one more example, then I'll shut up. I was playing one night at a place that's now called the Blue Bar on 21st. But it used to be Casablanca. The Judds had sold it to Mario Ferrari, who started the Wild Boar and Mario's restaurants. And there's a guy sitting at the piano bar, and I said, dude, that's a nice hat you got on. He said, you like my hat? And I said, yeah. And everybody come in, I said, is that a bad hat he's got? Everybody said, yeah. So when he left, he said, here's my card. If you ever need anything, let me know. Raleigh, North Carolina, strategic marketing for Wrangler. I said, close. Okay. He told me, I called him, he told me where to go. This is when you realize how disenfranchised you are. I pulled into this place, knocked on the door. This man come to the door, what do you want? I said, well, this man, gave him man's name, gave me this number and this address and told me to come down here and get some clothes for my Black Country Music show. He said, you won't get anything out of this building. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. He said, you're not getting anything out of here. I just looked at myself, okay. I turned around and left. So what if I didn't wreck my car? I was so mad. I got home. I looked up Wrangler's headquarters. And I said, you know, I called her and I said, really, I'm a very nice person. Before I go off, I want you to understand that. I said, but I'm going to tell you something. This man gave me his card out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and told me that I could get what I needed for my Black Country Music show. And I went over there and this man talked to me like a dog. Now, if you don't want the NAACP marching and to be on channel 2, 4, and 5 on national news, somebody better do something. She said, ma'am, I said, I understand who the head of your company is, Don Lofton. I was calling name. She said, ma'am, just sit. She said, ma'am, just give me your phone. Sit by the phone. They called me back. Ma'am, you go get anything you need right now? We've worked it out for you. Go on over there. Well, I went over there. This time I backed in and popped the hood. He opened the door. He didn't say that, just opened the door. As soon as I went in, I saw like a grocery cart. Walk down this hallway. All these gold records. We sponsor Alan Jackson's show. We sponsor Garth Brooks' show. We sponsor George Strait, which I love all three of them. I'm like, look, all these, my favorite people up here on the wall, my favorite country singers, you know. So when I got in there, I had everybody's clothing side, right? We was getting ready to go do the Mid-South Fair in Memphis. So I had everybody's clothing size. Dude, I went so crazy. I went so nutty that when I was leaving, I said, you know what? I'm going to get them too. That's what Clint Eastwood wore in Rawhide, some chaps. I broke out with some brown suede chaps, dude. I came home and I had everybody's name on their outfits, right? I said, y'all come on over here. I got something for you. They come over and they went, oh, look. I said, your name's on your clothes. You can take it and go. They went, we can keep it. I'm like, yes, you can keep it. What are you going to do? Try and give it back to them? That's the difference. When you're already set up like the country music industry was, and you're fighting to get in there and have your show look good and everything like mine. I want to tell you, when we went to Memphis, they looked great down there on stage. I was so proud, I didn't know what to do. You know, but that's just the kind of battles that I went
So
through.
I read that you recorded all of it too, right?
Because I said someday nobody will believe it. Nobody will ever believe the quality of the singers that I had. They'll never believe the songs that we chose to sing. And so if I don't have a record of it, I won't be able to prove it. And when they called me, did you read the Rolling Stone story?
I looked over a lot of things, so I can't tell you which.
Well,
which I did.
it's called Fighting to Be Heard. It was out about 2 years ago on Rolling Stone, written by Jonathan Bernstein. And he said, he talked to Cleve Francis, who was just in the Washington Post day before yesterday. And he said to Cleve, so there was a Black Country Music Association. He said, well, I wanted to do it, but Frankie did it. He said, Frankie, who is Frankie? He said, she'll battle, man. She'll just get in there and fight, you know? And so he called me and he said, I can't even imagine that. I said, I know you can't. He said, God, I would have given anything to have seen that. I said, you can see it. And he said, I can see the Black Country Music Show. I said, I filmed everything. He said, no, you didn't. I said, yes, I did. And he said, oh. I said, I have to bounce it over from film to DVD so you can see it. And I sent him just a little bit of it. I said, but while I'm doing that, let me send you some CDs so you can hear the live show. The first thing he did was call me and said, Miss Staton, are these Black people that's singing? I said, yeah. He said, oh, what? You're telling me they're Black. I said, Black, baby, chocolate, Hershey bar. It was in the psyche of America that these people exist. They think, you know, like Cleve said, 40 million Black people, you shook the country music tree and one brother fell out of it in 75 years. So
I hate that.
When I finally got up there to Jonathan, it took me a while to get everything up there to him. He said, you're sitting on a box set, your own documentary. He said, my God, this is, oh my God. He said, they're worthy. I said, oh, I know that. I knew it then. I mean, I went after everybody. I even went to the hip hop summit and got to Russell Simmons. That's how crazy, I was crazy back then. And somebody said, why you ain't doing it now? I said, because it'll kill you. It will lay you down in the ground. But I went. I called C-SPAN one morning. I hit the repeat button till I got in there and talked to Bob Johnson from BET. And I said, we're going to have a girl on LA Live next week. We want to thank you, sir, for creating a station for the needs of Black people. He said, well, you're welcome. He went back to California and asked Andre Barnwell. He said, man, I was on C-SPAN and everybody was cussing me out saying my station was racist. And this Black woman called in from Nashville and she went crazy. And he said, that's Frankie. So, you know, I knew Nashville wasn't going to help me. I talked to Russell twice. And he said, I don't know nothing about country music. And I said, yeah, nobody knew nothing about hip hop till you came along. And see, then but then I'm glad I didn't. I really knew that Bill Cosby's best friend worked at Fisk. And I thought, man, if Bill get involved in it, but I'm so glad he didn't, because I would want to went through what them women went through. You know, then I was trying to get to Steven Spielberg, Debbie Allen. I was trying to get to anybody away from here. And I did not bother Oprah because everybody else Black and Country was on Oprah. See what I'm saying? It was trying their best to get Oprah to back them. So I said, I ain't gonna bother her because everybody pulling at her. But finally, in the end, the reason I stopped doing the showcases and just stopped everything was because my son was growing up, and my son went to Davidson Academy, and then he went to Montgomery Bell Academy. And that's like a whole nother job right there. And I was at a place where, you know, as a single mom, I had to put my son before music. And so I said, I'm just going to quit everything because they're not supporting me in Nashville. I can't get the Black industry to support. I just couldn't get the kind of support I needed, you know. And even today, they're going through it today. They're going through some of the same things that I went through, you know. So
and it's tough. It's still tough in the city. It grows so fast, but it's like it doesn't grow for us.
Yeah.
And
see, it's so many layers to it. Layers, you know, managers, road managers, publishers, promoters, you know, people who lease buses. It's so many, you know, different, you know, licensing, you know, foreign royalties. It's so many different aspects of it that's not really, that we're not there. We're not present in.
And I hate that. I really do. I feel like if Nashville or the country music industry embraced Black artists like they should, the music industry would be better for it.
Well, what will happen is they'll let some in, but my hope is that somebody like Dre or you know, somebody like Jay-Z come down here and start a label.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
And I know Rock Nation has offices down here, but you know, I don't think it's one of the major ones here, obviously.
Yeah. You know, and if these artists, I mean, I would say like Breland and Shy Carter and Blanco Brown, they're doing good because they were very visible during the CMA Music Fest. And Breland sold out the Ryman. You know, Breland was on the main stage of the CMA Music Fest. But like I said to Breland, he was talking about Mickey, how hard it is for Mickey. Mickey can't get nominated for nothing because she doesn't chart high enough on the charts to be considered. And I said, and that's when it's time, Breland, for you to come in and do a great duet with Mickey. Learn how to work together. Put yourself in that person's place. Mickey's got the visibility. You know, she just need a killer song, man, that'll propel her into the stratosphere, and it's over after that. You know, she's out there around all the people, you know. So it's just, you know, I said, y'all work together, learn to work together, and don't give up, because it was not happening during my day.
No, and I know it's a lot more. I have a lot more friends who listen to country music and go out of their way to listen to Black country music artists because that's the only thing that they feel like they can relate to. So,
well, that's really not true. I could play them some country songs they go nuts over. I know the songs that they would. Yes, sir. I do know the songs they listen to. I do. Like I said, I've been listening to country music, 50 some years. I know the songs that would touch their lives that they would listen to. But you know, that we're in an emerging market, and it's got to be established. I'm glad I lived to see it. I really thought, you know, I'm just gonna die. Nothing never gonna happen for me. But the one thing that I always had going for me, even though I was not an educated musician, was that I could always work in this city as a live act. I could always work. I wasn't dependent on a band to play for me. I just do a gig by myself on the grand piano. Sing, entertain, joke, tell stories by myself, you know. And it was when I played my music for those people that they said, okay, Reba need to hear that. You don't need to give up. That's a really great song. So it was, you know, for everything the industry told me, the very people that was going to the Grand Ole Opry was coming to hear me sing at Opryland Hotel. And they'd say, we're going to the Opry, will you be here when we get back? Because we want to hear you some more.
Mm.
So that was the one plus that I could do a little live show, and that, you know, I never had a problem entertaining anybody. I don't care who it was, man, that, you know, if I'm playing country and my people walk in the door, they kind of look at me like that. I'm like, where you from? They say I'm from Alabama. I said, hang on 1 minute. And I just do a whole lounge set. I played 10 Lionel Richie songs, and they go. I said, okay, I play a little bit of everything, you know. So, you know, I've just learned how to play for people from everywhere, you know.
See, multifaceted in most genres.
Oh yeah, because I loved it all. I loved Streisand. I loved the Beatles. I loved Simon and Garfunkel. But then over here, I love Earth, Wind and Fire, the entire Motown, everybody, MJ, Marvin, oh my God, the Temps. I was into all of that. But then I was in the Philadelphia International, man. I mean, I thought the OJs hung the moon. Teddy Pendergrass, Patti LaBelle, Evelyn Champagne King, all them people. But then over here, I was listening to Sinatra and Louis and, you know, Dean Martin. You know, I like them too, man. I was into that. You know, but then I got off into Irish music. Irish. I'm like, man, I love me some Irish music. But then I was into Elton John and Billy Joel. But then Stevie, James Taylor, Carole King, all that music. Can you imagine my head feel like it's about to bust sometime? You know, all them great songs, man. I be tripping off of them songs. It's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So I
don't want to take too much of your morning.
Yeah,
but we can talk all day if
I love my music. But what is your ultimate goal with music?
So I'm not a musician. I just want to make sure that Nashville's music gets shown to the masses. There's so many people here that don't get that chance with such a big machine here in Nashville.
It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger.
It's getting huge. And I'm of the mindset that Nashville has a lot of self-reflection to do. Like, we have demons, we have bodies buried on Jefferson Street that they don't want to talk about.
That's right.
So the moment we dig those bodies up and actually face this, you know, we'll actually be able to flourish and progress the way we think we should. And I think Black voices specifically being muzzled away from country music inherently makes rap and R&B harder to break out into here in this city with this huge machine here.
Yeah.
So as long as they can say, hey, Black people don't listen to country music because of the content in some of the songs, we would never want to tailor our music to that audience. They're missing out on money. They're missing out on culture. And Black people started country music.
Exactly.
So to shut us out of it.
But, you know, I also, you know, I've said this in many different symposiums. We have got to build the market ourselves, because they're not going to do it. We got to find that Black audience. I just looked at some things on, somebody sent me all this stuff. I don't know who sent it to me. But it was all these people in Africa dancing to country music, doing their own line dances and everything in the sub-Saharan region of Africa. And I thought, oh man, wouldn't it be cool to go over there and do a tour of Black country singers? And my friend Valerie was telling me that when she went on her honeymoon, she was down in the Caribbean islands. She had a t-shirt on that said Grand Ole Opry. And she said, this woman just started screaming, oh, I love the Opry. I love the Grand Ole Opry. And she said, oh, I love your shirt. And she told her husband, baby, give me your shirt. She went in the bathroom and took her shirt off and gave it to the lady. She said, lady, act like it was a piece of gold. We were exhibitors at the CMA Music Fest when it was fanfare. And we would see people from the islands that came to fanfare or the CMA Music Fest to be a part of the country music people. They love country music so much. So what the industry has successfully done is hidden those people. Kenny Rogers, you know, every year in St. Lucia in the wintertime, they have a big country music festival. Kenny Rogers said he started crying when he went over there and here's a sea of Black faces that knew every syllable to his music. He didn't have a clue that they knew his music like that. So what they've successfully done, you know, Race Records is rhythm and blues go to Black people, country go to white people. But we were there all along. We were there in the teaching of Hank Williams, Rufus T. Todd Payne, street corners of Montgomery, Alabama. My son, Valerie, and myself just went up to Kentucky to research Arnold Schultz, who created the G line, the G run, da 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 da. You hear that at the end of every country song, ba da 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 da. A Black man did that. He was one of the greatest guitar virtuosos that ever lived, one of the greatest fiddlers that ever lived. He allowed Bill Monroe to play with him when he was 12 years old. Bill Monroe studied him. He was a very generous Black man that taught people chords and everything. And he played all over Ohio County, Kentucky. And they say they don't know how he died. It's rumored that he was poisoned because musicians moved in there that was so jealous of him because he was the best they'd ever seen that they wanted to get rid of him. He died at 45 years of age. So I'm telling you, our history in country music is deep.
And it needs to be put a spotlight on it because I didn't even know that. I feel like the more we knew of our own past, the greater our future could be.
Well, I went and researched mine because people would say, well, why do you people want to do this? This is not about you. I said, I'm getting ready to go find out if it's about me. I'm getting ready to go find out what my people had to do with country music. And it knocked me over. We were here. We were never not in country music. Starting with the banjo coming from Africa. That's just the beginning. The banjo is a part of it. And the first person to ever sing on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry was D. Ford Bailey. The first person to grace the stage at the Ryman was D. Ford Bailey.
Black person.
Yeah. And I said, you know, one of the things I'm going to do before I leave this earth is do something to raise enough money that there's a bronze statue of that man down there at that Ryman Auditorium, because he was the first one to ever sing on that stage.
And you would never know that. Like
I know it. I believe if you tell me something, I'm getting ready to go find out. I've been looking at you like you crazy. Oh, really? Okay, well, I'm gonna go research that. I'm gonna go find out. Don't tell me we didn't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think it's a deliberate attempt. Because first of all, Nashville is pretty Black. Like it's a lot of white people here. It's pretty diverse, but
yeah,
Nashville's pretty Black. And for the outside looking in, they would never know that. They look at Nashville as country music city, even though we're called Music City, you know, country music city.
Yeah.
And the microcosm, which is country music, is just a smaller microcosm. I'm sorry, Miss Staton, I'm tripping over my words. It's like a projection of what the country is.
I was at the Allison Russell concert at the Ryman with the Fisk Jubilee Singers. I hope they put that on television or YouTube or something so people can see it. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that the spirit of everybody that had ever stood on that stage, from Hank Sr. to D. Ford to Patsy Cline to Loretta Lynn, I knew that those people, that music shook that place so much that I knew the people that wasn't even here could hear it. And that was a reckoning moment for me that night. I said, this place will never be the same.
Mm.
Shannon Sanders directing the Fist Jubilee Singers. I ain't never seen nothing. Sister Strings tore it apart. I was just sitting there like, my God, it was thunderous. You know what I'm saying? There was power in that music. Power. It's coming because we're some of the most talented people in the world, and it's undeniable that you can only shut people out for so long. You know, and it's coming. The thing that I said, and I might have said it over at Soho, was that it's going to begin with us being on every stage. That's from Coachella to Essence Jazz Festival to Bonnaroo to Glastonbury, England. That's where we have to be. We have to be visible. When we are visible, when we are in front of the masses, then those Black people who want to participate in it will emerge. But as long as they can't see us, see, that's what Nashville could do. Nashville silenced Black people. But now if they can see us and we are singing about their lives, it's all in the songwriting. It's in the writing. That's where it's at. That's the most important thing that can be done, is that we start to write the songs about our life. You know, when I listen to Garth Brooks singing The River, I don't know if you know that song. Are you familiar with that song? Okay. You look up The River by Garth Brooks.
Gotcha.
When I was listening to The River, and when I was looking at his video, which The River is one of my favorite songs written by Garth Brooks and Victoria Shaw, I was seeing Martin. I was seeing Martin Luther King marching. I was seeing them integrating the school systems, because the lyrics say, I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry. And that's what Martin Luther King did. In the face of all adversity, he went on anyway. See what I'm saying? I could relate those songs to my life. And he's actually in the dance. Have you heard The Dance? You need to look that up too. That's a great Garth Brooks song. It's got him and Coretta in there. It says, looking back on the memories of the dance we did beneath the stars of love. For a moment, all the world was right. How could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye? And I'm glad I didn't know the way that things would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I would have had to have missed the dance. That's a bad lyric right there. That's Tony Arata's song. I used to see him at Bluebird. So what I'm saying is, you know, they got John Kennedy in that video right before they killed him. They got Martin in there, Chris Ledoux, a really great rodeo rider. Those songs are relevant to our life, but we're not singing them. We're not singing them. And when I was listening to those songs and songs about our parents, our grandparents, I was listening to all those songs on country music. I was listening to people holding their groin, cussing with their pants hanging on their butt. And I said, look what the influence on our young people that is. So I'm happy for Kendrick Lamar. You know, I'm happy for J. Cole. I'm happy for some people that have content, some real content, and that respect women in their songs and stuff, you know. It starts with us. I often said, you know, when they went off on Morgan Wallen about using the N-word, I'm like, well, nobody should use it. And that's us included. Why would you want to use a word where they lynched people and hung people by a degrading word when there's so many other words you can write about? Why would you want to put that in your music and then turn around and get mad at somebody else if they do it, where it begins at home? If we don't respect ourselves, who's going to respect us? So no, I don't think nobody should use the word. If you don't know any other words, get a dictionary and study some.
No, honestly.
Yeah.
Miss Staton, thank you so much for taking your time to speak with me. I know it was at short notice.
Well, you are quite welcome. I wish you well in your endeavors.
Thank you.
Hope you talk to Valerie. I'll give your contact info to her because boy, she got some stories. She was our lead female vocalist
For sure.
in the Black Country Music Association. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm a email and just to make sure I can get that contact info.
Oh yeah, she's real country. When you hear her, you're gonna be like, but she's a sweet girl. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
You be blessed. Call on me anytime. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a wonderful day.
You do
Bye-bye.
the same.